I stood in my driveway, keys in hand, staring at the road ahead. 3 hours to Baltimore. 3 hours to find out if my wife of 15 years was cheating on me. My name's James Cook, a 38-year-old plumber from Philadelphia, and for months I'd been wrestling with a gut feeling that something was wrong with Emily. She was still the vibrant, chestnut-haired woman I'd married right out of high school, but lately her work trips for Liberty Insurance had been stretching longer, her excuses flimsier. She'd come home late, her phone buzzing with notifications she'd quickly silence. I wasn't the paranoid type, but the signs were piling up and I couldn't shake the image of her with someone else. We had 2 kids, Leah, 13, and Noah, 10, who were staying with my mom tonight. I'd told them I had a quick job out of town, but the truth? I was driving to the Marriott in Baltimore where Emily was attending a conference. My plan was to surprise her with dinner, maybe rekindle the spark we'd lost. But deep down, I needed answers. If she was betraying me, I had to know tonight. The drive felt like an eternity. My mind raced with questions. What if I was wrong? What if I walked in and found her alone, working, happy to see me? But then I'd remember her vague answers about late meetings, the way she'd avoid my eyes when I asked about her day. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles white. By the time I hit the Maryland state line, I was a mess of nerves, anger, and hope. I didn't want to be right, but I couldn't ignore the truth anymore. I pulled into the Marriott's parking lot just after 6 p.m., the neon sign glowing against the dusk. My heart pounded as I handed my bag to the bellhop and approached the front desk. "Hi, I'm James Cook," I said, forcing a smile. "My wife, Emily Cook, is here for the insurance conference. Room 214. She said I could pick up a key." The clerk, a young woman with a polite nod, checked my ID and slid a keycard across the counter. "Enjoy your stay, Mr. Cook," she said. I nodded, but my stomach churned. Enjoyment was the last thing on my mind. The elevator ride to the second floor was agonizing. Every ding felt like a countdown to the truth. What would I do if I caught her? Confront her? Walk away? I'd always been the steady one, the guy who fixed things, pipes, problems, our family. But this? I didn't know if I could fix this. As I walked down the hallway, the carpet muffling my steps, I decided I wouldn't knock. If Emily was hiding something, I'd see it for myself. I slid the keycard into the door, my hands trembling, and pushed it open as quietly as I could. There she was, sitting at the desk, her back to me, flipping through a stack of papers. Her laptop glowed, casting shadows across the room. She hadn't heard me come in. For a moment, I froze, relief washing over me. She was alone. No one else in sight. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe I was just a paranoid fool like she'd said the last time I hinted at my suspicions. Then she turned, startled, her eyes widening. "James? What are you doing here?" Her voice was a mix of surprise and, was that joy? She stood, crossing the room to hug me, her familiar scent of lavender hitting me like a wave. "I had some free time," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Thought I'd surprise you, take you to dinner." She smiled, that same smile that had won me over in high school, and for a moment I wanted to believe everything was fine. "You're sweet," she said, kissing my cheek. "Stay the night. The conference is boring and I'd love the company." My doubts started to crack. Maybe I'd misread everything. Maybe she was still my Emily. We talked about the kids, her work, the usual stuff. She seemed relaxed, happy even. I started to feel foolish for doubting her. "You know," I teased, "I was worried you'd be too busy for me." She laughed, nudging my shoulder. "You're ridiculous, James. Always worrying." Her words stung a little, but I let it go. We were reconnecting and I didn't want to ruin it. Then she said she needed a quick shower before dinner. "Order room service if you want," she called, disappearing into the bathroom. I sat on the bed, exhaling a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. My headache throbbed, probably from the drive, the stress, the roller coaster of emotions. I glanced at her toiletry bag on the dresser. Maybe she had some aspirin. I unzipped it, rummaging through her makeup and lotions. My fingers brushed something unfamiliar, a small, foil packet. I pulled it out and my heart stopped. A pack of 6 condoms. My mind reeled. We hadn't used condoms in a decade, not since I'd had a vasectomy after Noah was born. Emily had hated birth control pills, so we'd agreed it was the best option. So why were these here? I stared at the pack, my pulse hammering in my ears. There was no innocent explanation. My wife was cheating. The woman I'd loved for 15 years, the mother of my kids, was betraying me. Anger surged, hot and sharp. I wanted to storm into the bathroom, demand answers, but I stopped myself. I needed to be smart. I needed proof. My hands shook as I grabbed a hairpin from her bag, a habit she'd kept since high school for wardrobe emergencies. I carefully photographed the condoms with my phone, then slipped them back exactly where I'd found them. It wasn't much, but it was evidence, proof I wasn't crazy. I needed to get out of there. I couldn't sit through dinner pretending everything was fine. I pulled out my phone and called my buddy Mike, the kind of friend who'd do anything. No questions asked. "Mike," I whispered, stepping into the hallway. "I need a favor. Call me in an hour, say there's an emergency at home, a burst pipe or something. I need an excuse to leave." He didn't hesitate. "Got it, man. I'll call at 7. I hung up, my chest tight. I didn't know what I'd do next, but one thing was clear. I wasn't staying the night with Emily. Not after this. When she stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, I forced a smile. "Everything okay?" she asked, tilting her head. "Yeah," I lied. "Just checking on the kids." She nodded, oblivious to the storm inside me. We headed to the hotel dining room, and I played the part of the loving husband, but every bite of food tasted like ash. My mind kept circling ascending order, circling back to those condoms. Who was she meeting? When? How long had this been going on? I asked her about the conference, fishing for clues. "Oh, same old networking," she said, waving a hand. "Nothing exciting." Her nonchalance cut deeper than any confession. As we finished our meal, my phone rang right on cue. I stepped into the lobby, letting Mike's fake panic about a burst pipe at the school give me an out. When I returned, I told Emily I had to head back to Philly. Her face fell, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine disappointment or relief. "Be safe," she said, kissing me lightly. I grabbed my bag and left, my mind a whirlwind of anger and betrayal. The drive home was a blur. I didn't know what my next step was, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to let this go. The drive back to Philly was a haze of rage and heartbreak. Those condoms in Emily's bag burned in my mind, each one a stab to the life we'd built together. I'd spent 15 years loving her, raising Leah and Noah, believing we were unbreakable. Now every memory felt like a lie. I gripped the steering wheel, replaying her smile in the hotel room, the way she'd hugged me like nothing was wrong. How long had she been playing me? Who was the other guy? By the time I pulled into my driveway at 10 p.m., I was no closer to answers, but one thing was clear. I needed proof before I confronted her. The house was quiet, the kids asleep at my mom's. I poured a glass of whiskey and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the photo of the condoms on my phone. It wasn't enough, not yet. I needed something undeniable, something she couldn't talk her way out of. But how? I wasn't a detective. I fixed pipes, not marriages. Sleep didn't come that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily with someone else, laughing, lying. By morning, I was exhausted but determined. I'd find the truth no matter what it cost me. 2 days later, Emily came home from Baltimore, acting like everything was normal. She was all smiles, chatting about the conference, asking about the kids. Her cheerfulness made my skin crawl. How could she be so carefree after what I'd found? I played along, nodding at her stories, but inside, I was screaming. I wanted to shake her, demand who she was meeting, but I held back. If I tipped her off, she'd cover her tracks. Instead, I watched her closely, looking for cracks in her facade. She was good, too good. The way she kissed me goodnight felt rehearsed, like she was performing for an audience of one. That weekend, Liberty Insurance hosted a company picnic at a park outside Philly. Emily insisted we all go, saying it'd be fun for Leah and Noah. I agreed, not because I wanted to, but because I hoped to spot something or someone. The park was buzzing with families, kids running around, and coworkers mingling over burgers and lemonade. Emily was in her element, laughing with her colleagues, her charm on full display. I kept my distance, pushing Noah on the swings while Leah played soccer nearby. My eyes scanned the crowd, searching for anyone who seemed too familiar with my wife. Then I saw him, a tall guy, mid-30s, with slicked-back hair and a confident grin, talking to Emily by the picnic tables. They weren't touching, but there was an ease between them, a closeness that made my stomach twist. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to march over. Instead, I focused on his name tag, Ryan Clark, senior agent. Was this the guy? I didn't have proof, but my gut screamed yes. As I watched, a woman approached me, her expression a mix of sympathy and resolve. "You're James, right? Emily's husband," she said. I nodded, wary. "I'm Sophie, Ryan's wife." Her voice was steady, but her eyes held the same pain I felt. She glanced at Emily and Ryan, then back at me. "Can we talk?" "Somewhere private." I followed her to a quiet bench by the lake, far enough from the crowd to speak freely. Leah and Noah were busy with games, so I knew they'd be fine for a bit. Sophie didn't waste time. "I've known about Ryan and Emily for 2 months," she said, her voice low but firm. "I hired a private investigator. I have photos, recordings, proof they've been meeting behind our backs." My chest tightened. Hearing it out loud made it real. "How bad is it?" I asked, dreading the answer. She pulled out her phone and showed me a grainy photo, Emily and Ryan entering a motel room together, his hand on her lower back. My throat burned. "There's more," Sophie said. "Audio from a call where they planned a trip together. I'm building a case for divorce, and I think you should too." I stared at the photo, my anger mixing with a strange relief. I wasn't crazy, but the relief didn't last. The thought of Emily planning a future with this guy while I raised our kids made me sick. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Sophie's jaw tightened. "Because they think they're untouchable. Ryan's done this before, and I'm done letting him hurt me. I want them to face consequences." She paused, then added, "I'm also suing Liberty Insurance. Their HR knew about the affair and did nothing. If you're in, we can share evidence. Make them pay." Her words lit a fire in me. I'd been spiraling alone, but Sophie was offering a plan, a way to fight back. "I'm in," I said. She nodded, handing me a flash drive. "This has everything my PI's gathered so far. Photos, audio, dates. Look it over, then meet me tomorrow at my place in Chestnut Hill. Ryan's golfing in the morning, so we'll have time to talk." I pocketed the drive, my mind racing. For the first time since Baltimore, I felt a flicker of control. Back at the picnic, I kept up appearances, laughing with Leah and Noah, even chatting with Emily's co-workers. But every time I saw her with Ryan, my blood boiled. He had the nerve to shake my hand, grinning like we were buddies. "Emily talks about you all the time," he said, his tone too smooth. I forced a smile, gripping his hand harder than necessary. "Good to know," I replied, my voice cold. Emily didn't notice the tension, or if she did, she hid it well. She was all smiles, playing the perfect wife and mom. That night, after the kids were in bed, I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. The files hit me like a punch. Photos of Emily and Ryan at restaurants, motels, even a park near her office. The audio was worse, a recording of Emily laughing, planning a weekend getaway with Ryan, talking about how they'd make it work around our schedules. Her voice, so casual, so happy, cut deeper than anything. I listened until I couldn't anymore, then shut the laptop. I didn't sleep that night either. But now I had what I needed. Emily's lies were unraveling, and I was ready to pull the thread. The next morning, Emily said she was running errands. I dropped the kids at my mom's and drove to Sophie's house. She greeted me at the door, calm but determined, and led me to her cozy living room. A computer monitor sat on the coffee table, showing a live feed of an empty motel room. "What's this?" I asked. Sophie smirked. "My PI set up a camera. Ryan thinks he's golfing today, but he's meeting Emily. You'll see." My stomach churned, but I nodded. We sat, sipping coffee, waiting for the truth to unfold. I wasn't sure I was ready, but there was no turning back now. The motel room on Sophie's monitor was still empty, but my heart was racing like I was watching a bomb tick down. Sophie sat across from me in her Chestnut Hill living room, her coffee untouched, her eyes fixed on the screen. We'd been waiting for 20 minutes, the silence heavy with anticipation. I wasn't sure I could handle seeing Emily with Ryan, but I needed to know the full truth. Sophie's private investigator had set up the camera in a motel just outside Philly where Ryan had told her he was golfing today. Emily had said she was running errands. The pieces were falling into place, and they were tearing me apart. Finally, the door on the screen swung open. Emily walked in, her hair loose, wearing the same blue dress she'd had on this morning. Ryan followed, his arm brushing hers as he locked the door. My stomach lurched. They didn't waste time, laughing and talking like they were at a damn cocktail party. Emily tossed her purse on the bed, and Ryan pulled her close, whispering something that made her giggle. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. Sophie reached over, squeezing my arm. "I know it hurts," she whispered, "but this is what we need." The video was damning, but it wasn't the worst part. Sophie played another audio file from her PI, a call between Emily and Ryan from last week. "We'll make it quick," Emily's voice said, casual and cold. "James thinks I'm at the grocery store. He's clueless. Ryan laughed, promising to book a hotel for their next getaway. My blood boiled. Clueless? I'd been a fool, sure, but not anymore. Every word they spoke was a nail in the coffin of our marriage. I wanted to smash the monitor, but Sophie's calm resolve kept me grounded. We've got them, she said. This is enough for divorce and the lawsuit. Sophie's plan was sharp. She'd already contacted a lawyer to sue Liberty Insurance for ignoring the affair, which violated their workplace ethics policy. She wanted me to join her, combining our evidence to hit Emily and Ryan where it hurt, their careers and reputations. I nodded, still reeling from the video. What's next? I asked. Sophie leaned forward, her voice steady. We confront them, but not yet. We need to catch them off guard. Ryan's sloppy, he's meeting Emily again tomorrow at a cafe downtown. My PI's tracking them. You in? I didn't hesitate. I'm in. The rest of the day was a blur. I picked up Leah and Noah from my mom's, forcing smiles as they told me about their day. Noah showed me a drawing he'd made, a family of 4 by a lake. My heart ached. How was I going to tell them their mom had betrayed us? Leah, always perceptive, noticed my quiet mood. You okay, Dad? She asked, her brown eyes searching mine. I ruffled her hair, lying through my teeth. Just tired, kiddo. Long day. I couldn't tell her yet. Not until I had a plan to protect them. That night I lay awake, the audio of Emily and Ryan looping in my head. Her laugh, so carefree, haunted me. I thought about our life together, our first apartment, the late-night talks, the way she'd held my hand when Noah was born. Was it all fake? I wanted to believe there was still some good in her, but the evidence was suffocating. By morning I was done grieving. Anger took over and I was ready to fight. I dropped the kids at school and drove to meet Sophie at the cafe where Emily and Ryan were headed. The cafe, a trendy spot in Center City, was packed with morning commuters. Sophie and I sat at a corner table, blending in with laptops and coffee cups. Her PI had sent us a photo of Ryan's car parked nearby, so we knew they were coming. My hands shook as I sipped my coffee, my eyes glued to the door. When Emily walked in arm with Ryan, I felt like I'd been punched. She was glowing, happier than I'd seen her in months. They sat 2 tables away, oblivious to us, laughing over pastries like a couple on a date. Sophie nudged me, pointing to her phone. Her PI had just texted. He'd hacked into Ryan's email and found a reservation for a weekend trip to Miami booked for next month when Emily had told me she'd be at another conference. The betrayal kept piling up. I wanted to storm over, but Sophie grabbed my wrist. Not here, she whispered. We stick to the plan. She was right. Confronting them now would just cause a scene. Instead, we watched, gathering every detail. Ryan paid for their coffee, his hand lingering on Emily's. She didn't pull away. As they left, Sophie's PI followed, promising more footage. I felt like I was drowning, but Sophie's resolve kept me afloat. We're close, she said as we left the cafe. I've got one more thing up my sleeve. Emily's meeting Ryan again tomorrow, but this time we'll be ready to end it. She explained her plan. Her PI had learned Emily was planning a quick lunch with Ryan at a restaurant near her sister Kate's place in New Jersey. Sophie wanted me to show up, not to confront them, but to throw Emily off balance, make her nervous. She'll slip up, Sophie said. And when she does, we'll have everything we need. I agreed, though the thought of seeing Emily with Ryan again made me sick. That afternoon, I took Leah and Noah to the park, trying to keep things normal. Leah kicked a soccer ball, her laughter a brief escape from my turmoil. Noah ran up, tugging my sleeve. Why's Mom always gone? He asked, his voice small. I froze, unsure how to answer. She's just busy with work, I said, hating the lie. I hugged him, promising myself I'd protect them from this mess. But first, I had to face Emily. The next morning, I drove to New Jersey, my nerves on edge. Sophie had given me the restaurant's address, a quiet Italian place near Kate's house. I didn't know what I'd say when I saw Emily, but Sophie's plan was simple: show up, act normal, and let Emily squirm. If she was hiding something, she'd crack under pressure. As I pulled into the parking lot, I saw Emily's car. My pulse raced. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for Leah, Noah, and the truth. I took a deep breath, stepped out, and walked toward the restaurant, ready to face whatever came next. I parked outside the Italian restaurant in New Jersey, my hands trembling as I gripped the steering wheel. Emily's car was in the lot, just as Sophie's PI had predicted. She was inside, supposedly having lunch with Ryan, while I was supposed to be back in Philly, clueless. But I wasn't clueless anymore. Sophie's plan was simple but brutal. Show up, act normal, and throw Emily off her game. If she was hiding something, she'd slip up under pressure. My heart pounded as I stepped out of the car, the weight of the flash drive in my pocket. Photos, audio, proof of her betrayal, giving me strength. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was for Leah and Noah, for the family she'd thrown away. The restaurant was cozy, with checkered tablecloths and the smell of garlic bread in the air. I spotted Emily at a corner table, alone for now, scrolling through her phone. Ryan wasn't there, yet. My stomach twisted, but I forced a smile and walked over. "James?" she gasped, her eyes wide with shock. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was tight, like she was scrambling for an excuse. "I was in the area," I lied, sliding into the chair across from her. "Thought I'd surprise you. Where's Kate?" I knew her sister wasn't here, but I wanted to see how she'd squirm. Emily fumbled, her smile shaky. "Oh, Kate's running late. She'll be here soon." Her eyes darted to the door, and I knew she was expecting Ryan. I leaned back, keeping my tone light. "Cool. I'll wait. Haven't seen her in a while." The waiter came by, and I ordered a coffee, acting like this was just a casual lunch. Emily's fingers tapped nervously on the table, her composure cracking. "You didn't tell me you were coming to Jersey," she said, her voice sharp. I shrugged. "Didn't know I had to. You're always so busy." The jab landed, and her face flushed. Minutes dragged on, and I could see her panic growing. She kept checking her phone, probably texting Ryan to stay away. I played along, asking about her day, the kids, anything to keep her talking. Then my phone buzzed. Sophie, texting from her car outside. "Ryan's here. He saw your car and bailed. She's stuck." I fought a grin. Sophie's plan was working. Emily was trapped, unable to meet Ryan without exposing herself. "Everything okay?" I asked, nodding at her phone. She forced a laugh. "Just work stuff. You know how it is." I nodded, but inside I was seething. She was still lying. I decided to push harder. "You've been working a lot lately?" I said, my tone casual but pointed. "All those late nights, conferences, must be exhausting." Her eyes flickered with unease, but she brushed it off. "It's just the job, James. You know that." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Is it? Because I'm starting to wonder what you're really doing on these trips." Her face froze, and for a moment, I thought she'd crack. But then she laughed, too loud, and changed the subject. "Let's not talk about work. How's Noah's soccer going?" I let it slide, but the seed was planted. She was nervous, and I was just getting started. Sophie texted again, "Meet me at Kate's house. Time to end this." I stood, tossing a few bucks on the table. "Gotta run," I said. "Tell Kate I said hi." Emily's relief was palpable, but it wouldn't last. I drove to Kate's house in a quiet suburb, where Sophie was waiting in her car. She'd been tracking Emily's movements with her PI, and they'd learned Emily was staying with Kate for the weekend, likely to cover more meetings with Ryan. Sophie's plan was bold. Confront Emily at Kate's, with all the evidence, and force her to admit the truth. "You ready?" Sophie asked, her eyes fierce. I nodded, my heart pounding. "Let's do this." Kate's house was a tidy split level, with a garden full of roses. Sophie and I walked up the path, the flash drive burning a hole in my pocket. Kate answered the door, surprised but polite. "James? What's going on?" Before I could answer, Emily appeared behind her, her face paling. "James, why are you here?" she stammered. I held up the flash drive, my voice steady. "We need to talk. Now." Kate stepped aside, sensing the tension, and we filed into the living room. Sophie stood beside me, her presence a quiet strength. I didn't waste time. "I know about you and Ryan," I said, locking eyes with Emily. "I have proof, photos, recordings, emails. You've been lying to me for months." Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. "That's ridiculous," she said, but her voice shook. "You're paranoid, James." I pulled out my laptop, plugged in the flash drive, and played the audio from Sophie's PI, the one where Emily called me clueless and planned a getaway with Ryan. Her face crumpled as her own voice filled the room. Kate gasped, turning to her sister. "Emily, is this true?" Emily tried to deflect, her voice rising. "This is edited. It's not what it sounds like. But I wasn't done. I opened the photos, Emily and Ryan at the motel, the cafe, the park. Explain this, I said, my voice cold. She stared at the screen, tears welling up, but she didn't deny it. James, she started, but I cut her off. I'm filing for divorce. I want full custody of Leah and Noah. You can keep the car and half our savings, $300. But we're done. I slid the divorce papers across the coffee table prepared by Sophie's lawyer that morning. Emily broke down sobbing, but I felt nothing. Her tears couldn't erase the betrayal. Kate looked horrified, caught between loyalty to her sister and the undeniable evidence. How could you do this? She whispered to Emily. Sophie spoke up, her voice calm but firm. Ryan's getting the same papers. And Liberty Insurance will hear from our lawyers. Emily's sobs grew louder, but I was already turning away. I'd said what I needed to say. The truth was out and I was free, at least from her lies. As I drove back to Philly, the weight on my chest lifted slightly. Leah and Noah were waiting, and I'd have to tell them something, but not everything, not yet. I called Sophie, thanking her for standing with me. We're not done, she said. They'll pay at work, too. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Emily's world was about to collapse, and I wasn't going to stop it. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. But the hardest part facing my kids was still ahead. The drive back to Philly from Kate's house felt different. The anger that had fueled me for weeks was still there, but it was quieter now, replaced by a strange calm. I'd faced Emily, laid out her betrayal, and walked away with my head high. The divorce papers were in her hands, and there was no going back. But as the city skyline came into view, a new weight settled in my chest. Leah and Noah were waiting at home with my mom, and I had to figure out how to tell them their family was broken. They deserved the truth, or at least a version of it that wouldn't shatter them. I pulled into the driveway just after dusk. My mom greeted me at the door, her eyes full of questions she didn't ask. They're in the living room, she said softly. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Leah was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Noah played with his action figures on the rug. They looked up, and for a moment, everything felt normal. Then Leah's brow furrowed. Where's Mom? She asked, her voice cautious. Noah's eyes flicked to me, waiting. I sat down, my heart pounding. Kids, I started, my voice steadier than I felt. Mom and I, we're not going to live together anymore. She's made some choices that hurt our family, and I think it's best if we live apart. Leah's face hardened, like she'd been expecting bad news. Is it because of her work trips? She asked. Her perceptiveness caught me off guard. I nodded, choosing my words carefully. Yeah, partly. She hasn't been honest with us. But I'm here, and we're going to be okay. Noah's lip trembled. Is Mom coming back? He asked, his voice small. I pulled him into a hug. She'll always be your mom, but she needs to figure some things out. We'll stick together, I promise. Leah didn't cry, but her silence was louder than tears. She hugged me, then took Noah upstairs, saying they'd get ready for bed. My mom squeezed my shoulder. You did good, James. They'll be all right. I wasn't so sure, but I clung to her words. That night, I tucked the kids in, reading Noah his favorite superhero comic until he drifted off. Leah lingered in her doorway, her voice quiet. I knew something was wrong, she said. Thanks for telling us. I kissed her forehead, my heart aching. They were stronger than I'd given them credit for. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Sophie's lawyer moved fast, and our evidence, photos, audio, emails proved airtight. Liberty Insurance fired Emily and Ryan for violating their ethics policy, a decision that hit the local news and sent shockwaves through their social circles. Sophie's lawsuit against the company was gaining traction, and I joined as a co-plaintiff, ensuring Emily and Ryan's actions had consequences beyond our marriages. Ryan's life unraveled too. He lost his house to alimony payments and moved to a cramped apartment, abandoned by Emily, who couldn't handle his downfall. Emily moved in with Kate, cut off from the kids and me. She tried calling once, begging to see Leah and Noah, but I held firm. Not until you're honest, I told her. She hung up, and I haven't heard from her since. The divorce went through smoothly, with me getting full custody. I sold our old house, using the money to buy a smaller place in a quiet Philly suburb closer to Sophie's neighborhood. The kids needed stability, and I was determined to give it to them. Sophie became a lifeline. She'd finalized her divorce from Ryan and was rebuilding her life as a graphic designer. Her warmth and strength pulled me through the darkest days. One afternoon, she invited us to her house for a barbecue. Leah and Noah ran around her backyard, laughing as they fed her koi fish in a small pond. Sophie handed me a beer, her smile soft. They're good kids, she said. You're a great dad. I shrugged. But her words meant more than she knew. As the sun set, we sat by the pond. watching the koi glide through the water. "They're resilient," Sophie said, nodding at the fish. "Like us." Over time, Sophie and I grew closer. She wasn't just a partner in our fight. She was someone who understood my pain and saw me at my worst but stayed anyway. A year later, we got married in a small ceremony, with Leah and Noah as our biggest cheerleaders. We bought a house together, one with a bigger yard for the kids and a pond for Sophie's koi. The fish became a symbol of our new life, calm, steady, unbreakable. Leah started high school, excelling in soccer, while Noah discovered a love for painting, his artwork filling our walls. Emily faded from our lives. Kate sent occasional updates, saying Emily was working a low-paying job and living quietly, but she never reached out to the kids. I didn't push them to forgive her. They'd decide that on their own terms. For now, they were happy, and that was enough. One evening, as we sat on our porch, Sophie planning a family trip to the coast, Leah looked at me and said, "I'm glad we're here, Dad." Noah nodded, sketching a koi in his notebook. I smiled, my heart full. We'd been through hell, but we'd come out stronger. Sophie and I built something real, something honest. The koi pond in our backyard was a daily reminder. No matter how murky the water, you can keep swimming. Emily and Ryan's betrayal had tried to break us, but it only made us tougher. As I watched my kids laugh, my wife by my side, I knew we'd won. Not just the fight, but a future worth living for.